Welcome to the Old Time Radio Westerns. I'm your host, Andrew Rhines, and I'm excited to bring you another episode absolutely free. This episode is just one of over 80 episodes we release monthly. Each one is meticulously digitally restored and stored in the cloud, which comes at a considerable expense. To help cover these costs, you might hear some advertisements throughout this episode. While we retain the original commercials for historical authenticity, you may encounter modern ads. We promise to keep these ads to a minimum and try to place them where you would have originally heard them when they aired. If you prefer an ad-free experience, you can support us by becoming a member on our Patreon page. Go to otrwesterns.com/donate. Again, that's otrwesterns.com/donate for more information. I want to emphasize that we're committed to providing this content to you for free, but also want to be transparent about the financial realities of producing these shows. As a reminder, if you're listening to this episode on a service you pay for, please know that they do not support this podcast in any way, and the ads will be in this episode. Now, let's get into this episode. This episode is going to be The Lone Ranger. Original air dates June 9th, 1948, and the title is Outlaw Trail. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy.
A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty "Hi-yo, Silver!" The Lone Ranger. Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains, led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of a great horse, Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again. Come on, Silver. Let's go, big fellow. I'm Silver. Darkness had fallen when the Lone Ranger and Tonto reached the outskirts of Frontier Town and made temporary camp. Tonto rode into the town, returning shortly with the news that Sheriff Taylor, who had been trailing an outlaw gang some distance away, had just returned to town.
I'm glad Sheriff Taylor and his posse are back.
It's good.
Did you tell Judge Knott the stage with the payroll for Rockville got through all right?
Me tell him. And him glad.
Now I want you to go to the sheriff's office, Tonto. Ask Sheriff Taylor to come out here with you. I want to talk to him confidentially.
Me tell Sheriff Kimasabi. And you tell him about outlaws trying to stop stage.
Yes. It shouldn't take you long. I'll be waiting here for you.
Be hurry. Get him up, Scout.
It was an hour later when Tonto and Sheriff Two-Gun Taylor arrived. The Lone Ranger came right to the point.
Sheriff, as you know, Tonto and I escorted the Rockville stage this morning.
Yes, Tonto told me it got through all right.
That's right. But what Tonto didn't tell you was that it almost didn't get through.
Why, what happened?
A large gang of outlaws had planned to trap the stage at Rocky Ridge Pass. We outsmarted them by taking the stage through the Union Pacific Tunnel.
What, through the railroad tunnel?
Yes.
It must have been rough going. Didn't the outlaws follow you through?
Train come, we just get out of tunnel in time. Outlaws not have chance to follow.
That must have been the eastbound. Hey, I guess there's lots to this you aren't telling me.
The details don't matter, Sheriff. What does matter is the fact that those outlaws, led by Russ Murray, are still at large.
Murray's gang, eh?
Yeah.
Guess I better get a posse and ride up that way in the morning.
You wouldn't catch them unawares, Sheriff. I feel certain they have a spy in Frontier Town. Otherwise, they wouldn't have learned about that payroll shipment.
Spy?
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
But if you went back tonight and gathered the men for a posse, the member of the outlaw gang who's there in town would tip them off.
Yes, but what else can I do about it?
Just take your time about getting the men together. Do it quietly within the next day or so. Then wait until you get word from me.
Why? Well, what are you going to be doing?
Tonto and I'll ride back to the Sawtooth Mountains and try to find the outlaw hideout. Then Tonto can bring word to you.
All right, I'll do whatever you say.
Good. We'll leave at dawn. You should get word from me in a day or two. We've got to find and break up that outlaw gang.
The following morning at dawn, the Lone Ranger and Tonto set out for the Sawtooth Mountains to track down the outlaws. Meantime, in the outlaws' hidden camp, Russ Murray, the leader, had risen early and was talking to one of the outlaws who shared his quarters.
Well, Red, we haven't any word from Gary. I sent him back to Frontier Town after we failed in that stage holdup so he could listen around.
It's sure funny to me, Russ. You know right well words got back about what happened. They could have telegraphed it from Rockville after the stage got there.
Oh, they heard about it all right. I expected Sheriff Two-Gun Taylor to start rounding up a posse in Frontier Town last night to hunt us down.
But if he had, Gary would have come back to tell us.
I'm not afraid of a posse. We have a good hideout here in this rocky basin that could best them in a showdown fight anytime.
Well, what is bothering you then?
The hombre who drove that stage through the tunnel and risked everything doing it, knowing the eastbound train was coming any minute. Took a lot of nerve and brains to outsmart us that way.
Yeah. I, for one, sure thought they were goners.
Remember I told you I thought that hombre was masked?
Yeah. I couldn't quite make out at that distance, but...
Well, you remember there was a big white stallion following after the stage, don't you?
Yeah. A white stallion and a paint horse.
Well, it finally come to me who that hombre might be. There's only one hombre who'd do a thing like that and get away with it.
Who?
Ever hear of an hombre called the Lone Ranger?
Yeah, I heard a lot about that one. Seems he... Hey, you don't think he was a Lone Ranger, do you?
Yes, I do, Red. They say he wears a black mask and rides a big white stallion.
Good golly, Russ. If he's on our trail...
Sit down. No use losing your head over it. Just means we have to be smarter in our thinking and planning than he is, that's all.
Yeah, but... Well, I never figured on coming up against that hombre.
Well, it worried me a bit at first. But I've been thinking it'd be a feather in my cap if I could outsmart that Lone Ranger. Most every sheriff in the territory would be afraid to tackle us then.
Hey, that's right, they would. But getting the best of that hombre won't be easy, Russ. What
I've heard plenty of stories about him myself. I figure he's human like the rest of us. If I do say so myself, I got a pretty good reputation for being smart, too.
Sure, Russ.
I'm not waiting for him to come hunting us, Red. I'm taking you and one or two others, and we'll set out to hunt down the Lone Ranger right now. Go get the horses ready.
Hey, Russ. Why are we riding the trail toward Frontier Town? What's your plan, anyway?
Yeah, boss. Suppose the three of us run smack into a posse coming from town.
Don't worry, I feel certain we won't. But I do figure that masked hombre will come back snooping. We'll find a good place for an ambush down the trail a ways. Then we'll wait a while and see what happens. Get up there. Get up.
The sun had been up for over an hour as the Lone Ranger and Tonto rode leisurely along the trail that led to the Sawtooth Mountains.
Tonto, the leader of that outlaw gang is Russ Murray. And we're up against a very clever man.
Me hear plenty about Russ Murray.
He's managed to outsmart the law more than once. Operating with a large gang of ruthless men, Murray has terrorized many small towns in the territory.
When we get up into mountains, we have to be careful, Kemosabe.
Yes. Sure, you'll have lookouts in the vicinity of the outlaws' camp.
Who's a fella? Why do we stop, Kemosabe?
I notice there's a branch trail here that goes to the right.
It's not used much.
I think it would be a good idea if you continue on this trail while I follow that one for sign. You can meet further on where the trail approaches Rocky Ridge.
That's a good idea.
We should meet there in about an hour.
That's right.
Adios.
Adios.
Home, Silver.
Get him up, scout.
Meanwhile, in the Silver Dollar Cafe in Frontier Town, Gary, the outlaw spy, listened attentively as one of the sheriff's deputies entered and spoke to the man behind the bar.
Howdy, stranger.
Howdy.
Hi, Jake.
Hi there. You looking for somebody? Don't have many in this early, you know.
Yeah, I know. But if you should see Hawkins and Jed Young, tell them the sheriff wants to see him as soon as possible, will you?
Huh? Well, what sheriff's kid are looking for them two for? What have they done?
Oh, they haven't done anything. Just something the sheriff wants them to do, that's all.
Oh. Well, take them in. I'll send them around his office first thing.
Thanks. I'll be seeing you again, Jake. So long.
So long. Anything else for you, mister?
No, thanks. Seems like the sheriff has his deputies on the job early today, don't it?
Yeah. Must be something in the wind. I saw that deputy talking to a couple of hombres across the street before he came in here. They went riding in the direction of the sheriff's office.
Is that so?
Yeah.
You don't suppose he could be getting together a posse for something, do you?
Could be. I did hear one of the deputies who was here last night say something.
What'd he say?
Well, he said something about an attempted holdup on the Rockville stage yesterday afternoon.
Uh-huh.
Usually, though, when they want a posse, they come snorting in here when there's a bunch of hombres around and say, "Let's go, boys, we need a posse."
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, some of the men who usually come in here to start the day off haven't showed up this morning either. Must be something in the wind, all right.
Guess there is at that. Well, I'll see you later in the day. So long.
Back in the hills, Russ Murray and the two other outlaws rode along the trail toward town. Russ kept his eyes open for a likely spot that would be good for an ambush. Finally, he pointed a short distance ahead.
See those boulders along the left side of the trail? That's where we'll stop.
Yeah. That'll be a perfect place, Russ.
You can spot anyone riding up the trail from there without them being wise.
That's the general idea. All right, let's turn off and stop. Whoa there. Whoa there. Yeah, this will serve to hide the horses as well as ourselves. Yeah. I can see some distance down the trail, all right.
Easy there.
These boulders will protect us in case there's more than we can handle.
Now, don't be a fool. I'm hoping two of them comes along, that's all. We should spot a posse, just keep quiet and let them pass.
Yeah, that's right. We wouldn't have a chance with a posse against us, even behind these boulders. Hey, look, Russ.
Look at what?
See? Cloud of dust coming up the trail. It's like a single rider coming.
Yeah, it is.
I can't make him out, though.
Maybe it's Gary coming back from Frontier Town with some news.
Yeah, it could be.
If it is, Red, you go out and stop him.
All right. I can see him clear now. That isn't Gary. I'm almost sure of that.
Oh, no, it isn't.
Russ, looks like an Indian to me. Fact is,
Now, wait a minute, Red.
What's the matter?
I can make out the horse now. You see?
Oh, yeah. It's a paint horse.
That's right, it is.
Remember the paint horse that was running with that white stallion behind the stage yesterday?
Hey, do you think...
Sure. There's another paint horse like it. That Indian must be the hombre that rides with the Lone Ranger.
I bet you're right at that. Yeah, but he's alone. I wonder...
Sure he's alone. That's something that plays right into our hands. Get your guns out and be ready. He'll be along here in another minute.
Unmindful of the men waiting in ambush on the trail ahead, Tonto rode Scout at a loping pace up the trail, keeping his eyes along the ground for any sign of the outlaw gang. Suddenly, Scout broke his pace and slowed to a stop.
What matters, Scout? Get him up, Scout!
In spite of the Indian's orders, the beautiful paint horse turned on the trail as if to go back. He instinctively knew that danger lurked in hiding on the trail ahead, for his keen sense of smell had detected the odor of other men and horses on the light wind which blew down trail. It took Tonto a moment to understand. Then as he patted the neck of his faithful mount, he searched the trail ahead with keen eyes. He spoke in a low voice to Scout.
Easy, fella. Easy. You think you give warning. Keep you ready. Oh!
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger story. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. Continue our story. Just as Tonto realized from Scout's actions that he had ridden into danger, a shot rang out and he fell from the saddle. Ross Murray and the others mounted immediately and rode to the spot where Tonto lay.
Hold on. Yeah, did a good job, Ross. Knocked him out of the saddle with one shot. Yes, you fool. If you kill him, you spoil my plans. I'll turn him over. No. Hey. Oh. He's still alive. Yeah, he's alive, all right. Bullet just grazed the side of his head. I'll fix him in this neckerchief he's wearing. Yeah. He'll be all right. Yeah, there.
Why you shoot me?
You'll be all right, Indian. Just creased you a bit, that's all. Now take your gun. Now you can get to your feet. We're taking you back to our camp with us.
Later, the Lone Ranger arrived at the point where he and Tonto were to meet. As time went on and Tonto didn't come, he watched the trail anxiously from a vantage point in a nearby arroyo. Finally, he saw horsemen coming up the trail.
Well, Silver, here comes Tonto and Scout at last. I was beginning to worry about them. I'll mount up and ride down to meet them. Easy, big fella, easy. What's the matter, fella? Oh, that isn't Tonto and Scout. We'll stay hidden here until that rider passes. No, I've never seen that man before. His horse is all lathered from hard riding. Silver, we know somebody in town takes news of the outlaws. That may be the person. All right, we'll take a chance and follow him. We can come back and look for Tonto later. On, Silver.
Back in Frontier Town, the sheriff's deputy entered the Silver Dollar Cafe again and approached the bar.
Hi, Jim. Did you find Hawkins and Young yet?
Yep, I found them all right.
I've been wondering all morning what you were so anxious to find them for.
I told you the sheriff wanted to talk to him, didn't I? Trouble with you, Jake, is that you ask too many questions. Give me a drink of water.
Yeah, sure. We got plenty of that free. There you are, Jim.
Thanks.
You know, I wasn't the only one who was wondering about why the sheriff wanted Hawkins and Young.
No? Who else was wondering?
Well, that stranger who was sitting in here earlier today. He came over to me after you went out and asked a few questions.
He did? What kind of questions, Jake?
Well, he wanted to know why the sheriff had his deputies running around town getting men together. Asked if maybe he was getting a posse ready for something.
He did, huh? What did you tell him?
Well, I said on account of that stage hold-up yesterday, that is, the attempted hold-up.
How did you find out about that?
I heard one of your men mention it in here last night.
So you mentioned it to that stranger, huh?
Yep. Then he hightailed it out of here. He seemed to be in a hurry the way he galloped off on the west trail.
I see. I gotta see the sheriff right away, Jake. So long.
What's up, Jim?
Plenty, Sheriff. No use keeping quiet any longer about getting that posse together.
What? What do you mean?
One of the other deputies mentioned it to Jake at the Silver Dollar last night.
Oh, that settles it all right.
That isn't all, either. Jake says he talked about it to a stranger who was in there this morning when I went looking for Hawkins and Young. A lanky-looking hombre with sideburns.
Oh, that don't mean anything. Jake's likely mentioned it to every galoot that's come in the Silver Dollar.
Sheriff Taylor, I got a feeling that stranger was the outlaw spy you thought might be around town.
That's so? What makes you think that?
Well, he started asking Jake questions after I left the Silver Dollar. When he found out from Jake that you might be raising a posse quietly because of that attempted holdup, he beat it out of town on the west trail.
Tarnation, take it, that spoils our plans. He'll report to them outlaws and they'll light out for other parts before we hear from that masked man.
Well, why wait for the masked man? Let's start out now for the Sawtooth Mountains and try to meet up with him.
By thunder, that's just what we'll do. You go get the men together right now. Tell them the posse's leaving just as soon as they can get ready.
The Lone Ranger followed Gary, the outlaw spy, until he saw him turn off the trail onto a rocky path that led to an opening between two small mountain ridges. The Lone Ranger reined up.
Oh, Silver. Oh, easy. Steady, big fella. Easy a minute. Yes, I guess we've seen enough to show the way to the hideout. If we go any closer, we might run into a lookout. Yeah. We'll go back now and meet Tonto. And he can ride to Frontier Town and bring the posse. Come on, Silver.
Within a short time, the Lone Ranger arrived at the place where he and Tonto were to meet. Not finding Tonto there, he decided to ride down the trail in search of him. The Lone Ranger had ridden quite a distance down the trail when he saw a large group of horsemen coming toward him. He hurriedly drew off to the side and waited.
Oh, boy. Easy, Silver. Might be some of the outlaws. Yeah, it looks like it. Oh, that's Sheriff Taylor and the posse. Come on, Silver.
Hi there, mister!
Oh, Silver, hold on.
I'll wait, men, before you start getting excited. That masked man's a friend of mine. He's going to help round up them outlaws.
Sheriff, I thought you were going to wait until I sent for you.
Yeah, I was. But we found out a stranger was around asking questions and found out about the posse. He lit out for the mountains.
Yes, I know. I saw and followed him. I found out where the gang is camping.
Good for you.
Tell me, did you see anything of Tonto on the trail?
No, not a thing.
That's strange. He was to come up this way and meet me near Rocky Ridge.
Well, maybe he cut off the trail for something. Let's ride on to Rocky Ridge and see if he showed up by this time.
All right, let's go. Come on, Silver.
Get in there.
Meantime, the outlaw chief Russ, with the two other men, had taken Tonto to the hidden basin. As they stopped in front of Russ Murray's shack, Tonto tried to think of some way to get word to the Lone Ranger.
Whoa. All right, Indian. Get off that horse.
Me get off. Go, stop! Hey, that horse is getting away.
I'll settle him with a bullet.
No, you not shoot him.
No, you fool. I could have plugged him if you hadn't grabbed my arm. Ought to plug you for that.
Oh, forget it, Russ. We'll trail the paint and get him back later.
All right. Take this Indian inside and tie him up. Make sure he doesn't get away. Tonto's not here.
Yeah. Do you think maybe you got a line on one of the outlaws and left the trail someplace?
Could be, Sheriff, but I don't think...
Wait. Look, coming from toward the ridge there.
Tonto's horse, Scout. Whoa, Scout, whoa, fella. Ease up now. Whoa! Scout wouldn't leave Tonto unless he were ordered to. The outlaws must have captured Tonto.
That's not so good.
Sheriff, by backtracking on Scout, we can definitely find the entrance to their hidden camp. I'm sure it's in a small basin back in the mountains.
They could hold us off forever, then.
Perhaps, but I have a plan. I'll lead Scout and ride with you men until we're sure of where the entrance is. Then part of the posse can come with me. Now, when you hear shooting, ride into the basin.
Right.
All right, let's get going. Come on, Silver. Get up.
After reaching the point to which he had followed the outlaw spy, the Lone Ranger left the sheriff and half the posse to backtrack Scout's trail to the entrance, while he and the other half rode to the top of the ridge. Then he reined up.
Oh, Silver. Big fella. Men, we're on the rim of the hideout basin, the back. Look down there.
It's 100 feet sheer drop down there. And they got their camp in the center of the basin. Too far for shots to count, mister.
Get your lariats and tie them together. Then tie one end to a tree. We'll go down one by one.
But if they see us coming down, they can pick us off like flies.
The scrub brush going out of the sides of the cliff will hide us. I'll get busy.
Right. Come on, men.
The men carefully tied lariats together until they had a rope long enough to reach the bottom. Then, tying one end to a tree, they followed the Lone Ranger down one by one without being seen by the outlaws below. Soon they all stood in the basin, waiting orders from the masked man. Meantime, in Murray's shack, the outlaw leader looked up as Red entered hurriedly.
Hey, Russ. On the lookout. Just come in. There's a posse's riding toward the camp.
Posse, huh? This is it. Get the men to the pass. We'll cut them down with lead if they try to come in. Come on, I'll go with you.
Hey, they started shooting.
Oh, you fool. Shots came from back in the basin.
Holy smoke. Some of them got down at the back of the basin. We'll be trapped.
Red, get our horses, yours and mine. We'll make a run for it. I'll go tend to that Indian.
I'll get him right away.
Well, Indian, looks like this is a showdown. That masked friend of yours is behind us, I reckon. But he won't find you here alive.
You'll not get away from Lone Ranger.
That's what you think. First, I'll put a bullet in you.
No, you won't.
Oh! My gun! I'll get you for that.
Asking for a fight, Murray.
Holstering his gun, the Lone Ranger faced Russ Murray with his fists. Blow after blow was landed by one, then the other, as they made a shambles of the furniture in their terrific struggle. Russ Murray was a strong man, and every inch as tall as the Lone Ranger. But in spite of that, he soon found that he was no match for the masked man before him. Finally, after many telling blows had driven him to his knees, the anger in his eyes changed to fear. He flung his arms before his face and pleaded for mercy.
No, wait, I give up. I can't take any more.
Get to your feet. This is for your attempt to kill my friend Tonto. Now, Tonto, I'll untie you.
We know you come, Kimasabi.
Just a minute. There. I guess the sheriff's got them.
Well, here you are. I wondered where you went, mister. I see you found Tonto.
Yes, Sheriff. That one on the floor is Russ Murray.
Sheriff, don't let him hit me.
Well, looks like you haven't much stuffing left in you, Murray. I missed a good fight.
We'll meet you on the trail, Sheriff. Come along, Tonto.
Here's one I found trying to get away, Sheriff.
Red, you fool. Why didn't you hurry with the
I
horses?
couldn't get the horses. Hey, what happened to you, Russ?
I reckon he just naturally crossed that masked man the wrong way. You see, he's the fightingest hombre in the West, either with his fists or with his guns. Oh, don't pay to fool with the Lone Ranger. No, sir.
story you have just heard is a copyrighted feature of the Lone Ranger Incorporated.
This has been a presentation of OTRWesterns.com, and we hope you enjoyed. Please take some time to like and rate our shows in your favorite podcast application. Follow us on Facebook by going to OTRWesterns.com/Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel by going to OTRWesterns.com/YouTube. And send us an email, podcast@OTRWesterns.com. You can call and leave us a voicemail, 707-986-8739. This episode is copyright under the Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike copyright. For more information, go to OTRWesterns.com/copyright. Have a great day, and thanks for listening.